Hey guys! Welcome back to another episode of Art and Recap. I'm your artist Faye, and today we are reading chapter 121 till 125 of Lord of the Mysteries. Okay, so chapter 121 is called Leonard's Hypothesis. When I read the title, I was like, oh my god, yes, King! Show us how smart you actually are. So, here's the thing. He was walking around the room. They're still at the workhouse where they were searching about Salas. They're trying to figure out how that guy died because he set himself on fire. So now they're trying to figure out if it's magical nonsense or not. So Leonard is walking around and he tugged on his collar. And when I read that, I was like, I want to tug on your collar too. Okay. Enough, Faye. So they're investigating, right? And Leonard is like, guys, I think we actually need to figure out more and talk to all of the guys, all of the people that ever had contact with Salus in the workhouse and before he went to the workhouse, probably also, yeah. So it's like, we need to split up so that we can finish this faster because we have to go and research another guy after this. And time is of the essence, guys. So he started ordering Klein and Fry around, right? And I was thinking to myself, oh, okay, so that's the reason why he's here. Because in the previous chapters, I was wondering what's the point of Leonard being with those two if they're just investigating, right? Because Klein and Freya, they were doing all the things. They were doing their job. They're doing their ritualistic magic and stuff. And Leonard was just standing there being pretty. And now I kind of figure out why. He's there to boss them around. He's basically their team leader because I guess he's a rank higher than them. He is a midnight poet, right? So yeah, just like one step closer to nightmare, I think. Or is midnight poet actually like the base of sleep? No, no. The first one is sleepless sequence, and then it's midnight poet, and then nightmare, right? So yeah, so he does outrank them in this case. But that's not for much longer because as we all know, Klein is about to digest his potion, so he's gonna level up soon. So Freya went about and did his business, and Klein was about to find someone to talk to when he saw Leonard gesturing with his chin to have a private chat with him. And I was like, a private chat? All alone? What is this, Leonard? Are you trying to hit on Klein again? Because if this is work related, why are you not including Freya? Why are you singling Freya out? And Klein was also thinking, what does he want? What does this guy want? So anyway, he still went there. He's like sneakily going there. And I was like, why does this seem like two lovers meeting up in private? Yeah, so Klein was like, hey, what's up? And Leonard's like, I have a hypothesis and I need to bounce it off of you. Okay, so here's the thing. If there was no supernatural factors that is involved with Mrs. Lewis's death, what would have happened? And Klein's like, well, the same thing would have happened. She would have died either way, maybe a week or two later, or maybe a month. Because if she's already been having heart problems, it was bound to happen one way or another, right? It's just she's poor. She and her family can't really afford to go to the doctor, right? So yeah, she was bound to die. And Leonard's like, it's like, yeah, yes, exactly. Then what about Salus? What would have instigated someone to have done this kind of thing? And Klein was thinking, and he's like, well, we know from the reports and stuff information that we got is that Salus was bankrupted and he's really mad. He is going to take revenge one way or another, and he's probably gonna kill himself in the end too. It's just he's probably not gonna take revenge on the workhouse. Instead, he's gonna set fire to the bank or whoever got his property or whatever whatnot that he's angry of, and then he'll kill himself. And Leonard's like, yeah, exactly, isn't that strange? So you would say that these two are fated to die one way or another, right? And Klein's like, yes. I'm starting to get what you're trying to say here, Leonard. So Klein's like, so you're saying that their deaths were moved forward by some supernatural factors, but why? And Leonard is like, instead of saying that their death is moved forward, it's more accurate to say that their life force had been stolen and shortened because of supernatural factors. And he then explains that it's actually the best material for summoning evil gods and devils and making terrifying curses, is what Leonard says. Klein looks at Leonard and is like, bro, how do you know all of this? We only have 2 samples of the investigation. This is a little bit sussy. Because again, Klein is low-key sussing Leonard the whole time during this moment. Leonard's like, Klein, you know what? You know what, Klein? Let's drop any pretenses between us. I saw you break free from the control of sealed artifact 2049. You guys know the tiny little clown puppet thing? So I know that you're different from other Beyonders. I know you're special. Like me. That's basically what Leonard said. We're not like the average Beyonders. We are special. And Klein's like, okay. And Leonard explains like, there are some Beyonders out there. There are many Beyonders out there, and there's bound to be more than one person that's special. And you and I, we are those special people. We are the protagonists. And he's like, this is the meeting of 2 protagonists, right? And he's telling Klein like, I will not pry into your secrets, but I would like you to trust me a little bit and also not pry into my secrets. It's just that let's just drop all this nonsense between us being average. We are both very special people, and I want you to trust me as I trust you. As long as we keep Tingen and the Nighthawks and all of our loved ones safe and it's nothing dangerous, let's just, trust each other. It's basically what Leonard is trying to tell Klein. And Klein's like, okay, you know what? Okay, fine. I do have secrets. Secrets that I am not going to tell you. And also Klein thinks that his secrets is a lot more crazy than what Leonard has, because fair enough, he is a transmigrator, and also he has a cult brewing in the background. Also, this is something I'm wondering, but does Leonard ever find out that Klein is a transmigrator in the future? I think that would be interesting, actually, since it seems like their relationship is starting to be built on trust in each other, and still keeping secrets, but yeah, they are slowly trusting each other. And Klein's like, okay, I am also not going to pry into your secrets. And then he thinks in the back of his mind, even though I really want to know, but I will keep my mouth shut for now. Let's focus on one thing at a time, okay? So Leonard is like, this is great. If we were book protagonists, this would be like the 2 meetings of protagonists. And not Leonard, and Klein's like, oh my god, this guy is so shameless. So they continue to talk more about the investigation, and Leonard's like, you know what, the Beyonder that we're searching for, they're actually kind of really smart. They targeted people that are bound to die within the month or 2, right? So that the Punishers, the Beyonder police basically won't ever find them and won't find it suspicious that these people suddenly died, because they already have signs that they were going to die at some point, right? And Klein is like, yeah, it's really hard. How are we supposed to find out where that person is? And Leonard's like, Klein, that's like your job. That's your specialty. That's your jurisdiction. And Klein's like, yeah, but how am I going to find where that sacrificial altar is that the person is using for the rituals and whatever? And Leonard's like, Klein, we need to narrow it down, okay? You only need to find a place that has a thick aura of death with the altar at the center, because of all the evil spirits and life force that was stolen, there's bound to be like spirits and ghosts there. So they need to find a place that's 5 degrees colder than usual. And Klein's like, you know what, that actually sounds pretty good. I can definitely find a place like that as long as it's within Thingen. And I need a place where to do my rituals. that is very quiet and chill. And the only place I can think of that would be, possible is, of course, my house. Instead of, going back to the office, to the Nighthawk's office and using his ritualistic magic there, he offered to go to his house with Leonard. And Leonard's like, cool, let's inform Freya about our findings. And while they were informing Freya, Klein was thinking, this Leonard, he knows a little bit too much about the dark arts. That's really sus. What the hell? Anyway, they went over to Klein's house with some stuff from Mrs. Salus and Mr. Salus and Mrs. Lawis. And Klein is like, guys, I need you guys to wait in the living room. Don't let anybody disturb me while I do this ritual. Because Klein was also a little bit worried that Melissa will come home soon because it's almost 6. So he's like, yes, please make sure that my little sister doesn't randomly go upstairs while I'm doing the ritual. And Leonard's like, you can trust us. And then he starts pacing around the living room and Freya sits on the sofa. And while this happened, Klein looks at Leonard and is like, does this guy have ADHD? He can never sit still. Though he does lean a lot on walls, so I don't know. So anyway, Klein goes to his room and does the ritual. He is actually doing a normal ritual and not the one that connects him to the Grey Fog World. He's not going to the Grey Fog World with Leonard in his living room because, again, even though he said that he will trust Leonard, he's just not going to randomly do that and risk Leonard having some, sixth sense and sensing that he disappeared from his room. So he's like, nah, let's not do that. We're gonna do something normal. So he did that and found out that the house that he's searching for is actually a gray house near a river. And he's like, okay, so this is the house. And then he went down to, talk to Leonard and Freya about it. And they pretty much narrowed it down based on the river and said that it's probably somewhere in the Westboro, I think. Yeah. So, chapter 122 is called Target Building, and before they can narrow down where that building is, Klein, of course, naturally told them what the building looks like. He's like, it's grayish blue, 2 stories building, and there's windows on the floor, blah 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 blah, and the garden is basically shit, and it's near a river. And while he was telling that, I was thinking to myself, why are you just describing the building? Why didn't you use ritualistic magic to draw the building? Klein, you can draw using ritualistic magic. Did you forget about the portrait you did? My god, dude, what the hell? So, he's like, okay, this is the river. We don't know which rivers there are. We get a lot of world building here and the explanation that there's actually a lot of rivers in Tingen. There's like the Tusok River, the Koi River, and they mentioned that the Tusok River is the biggest river in Loen Kingdom. And there's just a bunch of information about several rivers that we get in this chapter. And when I was reading through this, I was thinking to myself, this is a little bit suspicious. I know that Cuttlefish really likes world building, right? But usually you don't generally just randomly give world building stuff unless, of course, it's going to somehow be relevant in the future, right? So I am wondering if any one of these rivers that is mentioned in this chapter will be important down the line, especially the Tusok River, which is the biggest river in the Loen Kingdom. I think that sounds very important, right? They could be using this river for trade stuff. Maybe one day it will get blocked and the trade will go to shit. Like what happened in the Panama Canal, if I remember correctly. Do you guys remember the thing that happened back in before COVID? Yeah. So, they're like, okay, we need to narrow down which river it is. And Leonard was thinking, well, here is one method that we can eliminate on where to find that house. So Leonard explains that they need to be looking at all the murders that happened, basically, that they have info of, and look at it in like a 10-kilometer radius and see if any of those kilometers is near a river. Because first and foremost, he's like, if I were a criminal mastermind with a plan and goal in mind, I would be searching for a target. Like, I would searching for my targets the farthest away from me so that I will not get sussed out. And you know what? When I read that, I was thinking to myself, oh, you know what? This actually happens a lot in the real world too. Like, I've listened to podcasts of true crimes and watched some documentaries here and there whenever I'm drawing, and they do have criminals that tend to go out of their way to find victims far, far away from their house, and maybe far away from their workplace even. Yes, I was like, this is very possible. And so when Leonard finished explaining his idea, Klein was like, damn, this guy is actually really fucking smart. That's a brilliant conjecture. And then he thinks to himself, I really don't have the talent to be a detective. And when I read that, I was like, Klein, don't worry, baby girl. You are going to be the best detective in this world. Probably, because the title is called Lord of the Mysteries. Lord of the Mysteries. And I'm going to assume that that means that you're going to be the Lord of the Mysteries. Right? It's in the title, Klein. Don't worry about it, baby girl. You'll be the best detective. So anyway, thanks to Leonard's idea, they narrow it down to the Westboro, and they get on a carriage to drive around the Westboro. And you know what? I was thinking, what did they tell this random carriage driver when they hired him? Like, when they called him over, are they like, hey, I need you to just run around, like, drive around basically with the horse around Westboro. Just do it. We'll pay you handsomely. And the carriage rider is just like, the carriage driver, not rider. The carriage driver is just like, yeah, sure, whatever. As long as I get paid, basically, right? Because if I was the carriage driver, I'd be like, why are these three guys just wanting a joyride, basically? A slow joyride, not even a fast one. I'll be really sussing those three out. I'll be like, what's going on with these people? Anyway, they're in the carriage. Leonard is leaning against the wall of the carriage and humming a tune. And I was thinking to myself, see, he does love leaning on walls. That's his thing. So, as they were driving by, Klein actually sees the house that they were searching for. It's like, hey, that's the house. So, they see the house, and Leonard's like, continue driving, don't stop. And they drove past the house until they disappeared, until they don't see the house anymore. And then that's when Leonard tells the driver to stop and tells Klein to continue driving and get Captain Dunst. He should go to the Nighthawks and get Captain Dunst, because Captain Dunst is currently the only one at the headquarters right now, because he needs to stay there for emergencies, like right now. And also Kenley, if I remember correctly, is guarding the Chinese gate, while the others, Sika and well, who are the other two? The two other Nighthawks are on the field doing some other stuff, right? So he's like, you need to get Captain Dunes and tell him what happens. And Klein's like, okay. And Klein was also wondering, is he thinking of me as a rookie? Like, does he still think that I am defenseless? Because I am. It's like, that's very nice of Leonard, because he was also thinking that he doesn't really know how to fight yet. Like, all that combat training that he's been doing the past couple months is basically just him building up his stamina and muscles. And he's only just recently learned how to basically throw a punch, I guess. So it's like, okay, oh man, Leonard is actually kind of low-key a nice guy. So Klein's like, okay, I will tell the captain what's going on. Klein's like, you guys need to be very careful, okay? Let me divine something once for you guys. And he's like, the thing that will happen here is going to be a good outcome. So he flipped the coin and asked that question. And the coin said positive, it's going to be good. And he tells them like, there are very different interpretations to what's going on, but still be careful. And Leonard's like, damn, you are like my naggy grandma. Just chill, Klein. We're going to be fine. So Klein goes to the Nighthawks and greets Captain Dunes. And Captain Dunes was like sitting in the darkness and surprised Klein. He almost gave Klein a heart attack when he greeted him. And so Klein is like, Captain, we have a situation. So after doing his briefing, Captain Dune is like, okay, stay here, Klein. In case of emergencies, you will be here because again, Kenley is the only one at the headquarters now, and he is guarding the Chinese gate. But then Captain paused and was like, you know what? Just come along, Klein. It's good field exp experience. It's good field experience for you. So just come along. Of course, Klein doesn't really have to worry because he's not even going to be anywhere near the building. He is going to be standing back and just observing basically how Beyonders fight. It's again, it's to learn how stuff goes, how Beyonders fight basically. So that's pretty much the end for Klein's POV in this chapter, but that doesn't mean that the chapter is done. We actually get a small section of Tracy's POV, and in this section she is actually on her dressing table and doing her 10-step skincare routine, and next to her is actually a silver handheld mirror, and that mirror started seeping blood. I was like, dude, what the fuck? And that is how Tracy knew that something is going on outside her house. Chapter 123, Beyonder Battle. Okay, so I'm going to be short with the description of this chapter because it's a very battle-oriented chapter, as the title says. Actually, from what I read over here, it's very similar to what happened in the Donghua, so just watch that, I guess. The only thing different here is the fact that we find out that Tracy actually wore a hood and she cast a spell on herself that makes sure the Beyonders, the Nighthawks, won't recognize her, except that they did kind of recognize that she's a woman. Like Captain Dunes, when he trapped her into his nightmare, he kind of realized that she's female. Anyway, she cast a concealment magic on herself and then she began sneaking around and stabbed Freya in the back. But then it turns out that it was actually a dream, which is very similar to what happened in the Donghua, if I remember correctly. So they have a fight. She wakes up, realizes that she's still up in her room, and then goes around and runs to her altar. And you know, a lot of things are very similar with what happened. Like Captain Dunes runs after her. Leonard is still outside, and Captain Dunes is inside the building, and he got attacked by a curtain. And yeah, a lot of things that are very, very similar to what happened in the Donghua. Also, another weird thing that I found here that's very different from the Donghua is the fact that Tracy, you know how she hurt Leonard by casting the flower, and the flower kind of like casted a curse on him. So it says here that Leonard's wounds that was caused by the flower, it healed already. And it says that it's because of his special constitution. And I was like, what special constitution? Is it related to him being a Beyonder? Because I don't think so. I have a feeling that it's because of that voice that he keeps hearing in the Donghua that we don't know about yet. But yeah, he is hearing voices in his head. And also there is a reason that he thinks himself a protagonist too, right? So I have a feeling that it's related to that. So yeah, Tracy escaped and they destroy her altar. Again, when I was reading this, I was thinking this is the closest that I've ever seen or read that's very, very similar to what happened in the Donghua. It's almost one-to-one, except now we actually have some form of idea on what those ghosts are that are in the Donghua, because I thought they were just random ass ghosts. I didn't know that they were actually the ghosts or the spirits of the people whose life force she stole. I had no idea about that. Captain Dunes tells Leonard to give the signal to Klein so that he can come over because it's safe now, and they kind of need his ritualistic magic to do some random stuff again. That is technically how chapter 123 ends. I know it's very short. Again, I don't know what to describe in this chapter. It's like it's very one to one to the Donghua. Okay, chapter 124 is called Wrapping Up Work, and we are back to Klein's POV. Klein was hiding in the shadows of a building a dozens of meters away, and he was hearing faint gunshots from the battle between the Beyonders, and he was just waiting there and was thinking, do I draw my gun if the enemy runs towards me, or should I pretend not to know who they are? He's like thinking stuff like that. So anyway, after a while, the fighting stops, and he hears the singing of Leonard. You know, the tune he was humming when he was in the carriage. He hears that, and apparently that's the code that it's safe for him to come back now, to come and go with them. Go with them to go and unite with them. There is a particular word that I'm trying to find, but I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, so he hears the song, but before he could go there, he stops and thinks to himself, you know what? I don't know if this is a trick or not, so I am going to divine if it is. So he divined, and his divination told him that it's safe. That is Leonard singing. So he's like, okay, then let's go. So he goes to the building and sees how creepy it is, and was like, this is horror movie worthy set. It's a horror movie worthy set. So it's like, this is fucking creepy. So he goes in, and something bumps on his shoulder, and he jumps and pulls his revolver out. Trigger happy Klein back at it again. But it turns out it was actually just a random branch, and he's like, oh my god, I am scaring myself. So he enters the building and greets Freya, Captain Dune, and Leonard. And Leonard actually sees him being super nervous and was like, you know what, I am going to be nice and recite a calming poem for him. So he did that, and Klein's like, oh, that's nice of him. I don't feel so scared now. Captain Dunes orders Klein to start preparing a ritualistic magic to comfort the remaining spirits, and also to basically communicate with them and ask what happened, and so that they can have a clue to figure out who is actually the person who killed them all, right? So Klein is like, okay, sure, Captain, and he starts doing that, and he sees that Captain Dunes is still holding one of those sacrificial puppets, and he's like, oh, is it someone you know, Captain? And when he asks that, he's like, oh, damn, did I fuck up? Was that too personal? But Captain Dunes like, no, there's no one I know from here, none of them, but there is someone that you know. And Klein's like, someone I know, who could it be? And Captain says it's Joyce Meyer, the survivor of the Alfafa tragedy, the ship tragedy. And Klein's like, Joyce Meyer, oh, the fiance of Anna, who he divined for, the one with like the pinwheel and stuff like that. So it's like, oh shoot, damn, okay. So since Joyce Meyer is like involved with Alfafa, it's kind of known to them that Instigator Tris is the one that did all of that bullshit over there. But they're like, but is it possible that he's the one that did this all sacrificial involvement stuff? Is he the reason why all these people died? But Captain Dune's like, I don't think so. I knew that the person who cast all of these spells and made all of this chaos is female, and that's definitely not Tris. And Klein's like, oh, okay, then maybe he is involved with the Theosophy Order. Maybe the person who did all of this ritualistic magic is part of that order, and they were sent to help Tris. And Captain's like, that is highly possible actually, because the Theosophy Order, they are very heavily involved with the demoness with the demoness sect. God, pronunciation. And he's like, it's fairly normal for their experts to be female, and we all know why that is, right? So anyway, Klein did his ritualistic magic stuff, and he didn't find any useful clues from the ghost that died. So he tells that to Captain Dunes, and then they, with Leonard and Freya, they search through the house. And they stumble upon the room that Tracy was at, where she was doing her skincare routine, and they saw the mirror that bled. And Klein's like, this is a little bit sus. I can actually try and see if I can divine something from this mirror. So he does just that, and through that mirror, he actually saw the real face of Triss. Because again, Triss casted a spell so that the Nighthawks would not recognize her. So Klein, through the divination of the mirror, with the mirror, he saw her real face. And he's like, wait a second, I've seen this face before. And you know what? I think it's the face that he saw at the Bad Dragon Bar. Evil Dragon Bar? What is that bar called again? Bad Dragon Bar. He saw her there purchasing something. He was listening in to a conversation with a vendor about a book about witches. I think that's her. And I remember that he described her as very pretty. I think he even described her as the prettiest person he's seen so far ever since he transmigrated. That's highly possible, because I also saw somewhere in the comment section a while ago that says that the Demoness sect, they have a passive that makes them pretty, right? Anyway, that is pretty much how chapter 124 ends. Before we move on to the next chapter, I'd like to remind you all that my commissions are open. If you'd like to have your characters or even a fan art of a certain series drawn, my service is available. My Vision link is down in the description below, so if you guys are interested and would like more information, please check it out. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the video. Okay, chapter 125 is called Bold Idea. So Klein is actually looking at the image from the mirror, right? And he's like, wait, I've seen this face somewhere before. So he decided to actually divine who that face belongs to and where he actually felt this familiarity from. So he realizes that he saw this lady actually at the carriage at some point, and at the black market, the magic market. She was squatting and conversing someone over there. And you know what? When I read that she was squatting, I was like, I know that we know that Tracy and Triss are actually the same person, right? And when I read that she was squatting in the underground market, I was like, this is a freaking red flag. Ain't no way a Victorian era lady would be caught squatting somewhere, okay? Especially someone like Triss, who's like, I don't know, Triss seems like she's trying to be like some sort of noble lady, right? She's not about that pauper life, okay? So the fact that she's squatting, red flag. That's not very ladylike, my dude. So after Klein sketched Trissy, Captain Dunes asked him if he's met the person before, and Klein's like, yes, I've actually met her before at the carriage stop, and yeah, you guys were running after Triss back then, but then she suddenly appeared. And they're like, you know what? Captain Dunes like, you know what? This girl could possibly be working together with Instigator Triss. And then Leonard's like, wait, guys, check out the portrait again. Doesn't she look very familiar? She looks a lot like Instigator Triss, don't you guys think? And everybody's like, you know what? You have a point, Leonard. They have the same round face, narrow eyes, and gentle demeanor. And you know what? As someone who has a round face, narrow eyes, and also gentle demeanor, I am a very, very gentle person. I feel very attacked right now. So Klein looks at the picture and also remembers what Instigator Triss looks like, and he's like, you know what? They do look the same, except Instigator Triss looks like a basic bitch, and this lady here is actually pretty. Leonard was also signaling Klein with his eyebrows. He's like, Klein, come on. And Klein's like, what does this guy want? What's he trying to tell me? I can't read your mind, Leonard. The fuck? And Captain Dunes, while this was going on, Captain Dune made the logical assumption that the girl, Tracy, could be instigator Triss's sister because, it just makes sense. It's the most logical solution. They could be related somehow, right? That's why they look alike. And Leonard, he's like, you know what? Klein is really shit at reading my mind, so I'm gonna step in. And he said that I have a bold idea, guys. And they asked, like, what is it? And Leonard tells them, I think that this person is actually instigator Triss. And everybody's like, what? Leonard, what? Did you hit your head? So Fry is like shocked, and Captain Dune is like, do you mean to tell me that perhaps instigator Triss is actually a man dressed up as a woman, or vice versa? Which, it makes no sense because apparently in his dream, he can sense that Triss is a woman. So he's like, And Klein, Klein, the brilliant guy that he is, he's like, you know what? This world is fucking strange. Anything could be possible. So he's like, could it be that instigator Triss became female? Is that possible? Highly possible, actually, is what he's thinking. Because again, he's in a magical world where anything and everything is possible. Klein was thinking about the possibility of this actually happening, and he's like, you know what, this actually makes sense because Triss vanished from the face of the earth. Our divination could not know where he was at all. And that's only possible because he changed himself completely. He became a completely different person. He became Trissy. And while he was thinking that, he was thinking, you know what? For a guy who turned into a woman, he sure is pretty. He's like really distracted. And Leonard's like, you know what? This also makes sense because all of the upper echelons of the demonist sects are all females. So that is like possible, right? And Captain Dune was thinking, you know what? Yeah, that kind of makes sense. That could be a unique characteristics of their potion. And Klein was a little bit horrified that such a thing happens because he's like, oh my god, what if the seer potion has the same characteristic? He's like horrified. He doesn't want to lose his peen and he doesn't want to grow a puss, okay? But you know what? I think Klein would actually be a really cute woman. Don't you guys think? I feel like he already has the maternity instinct, the maternal instinct, the maternity. He already has the maternal instinct to be a lovely wife, I feel like. Am I the only one who wants to wife him up? Fry was horrified and was like, is it truly possible for potions to be doing all this stuff? And Leonard's like, girl, you know these potions are fucking crazy. They do crazy shit. So it is highly possible. After all, they all originated from the creator. Captain Dune asked Klein to divine Tracy's whereabouts, and Klein was like, okay, sure, why not? So he divines, and he got interference, and he's like, oh, this means our assumption is correct. Triss is now Trissy. So he tells that to Captain Dunes, and he's like, okay, I guess we can't use this. We can use some stuff over here to figure out who the owner of this house is and where all these clothes came from, we'll find some clues in this house. And Klein was also thinking, you know what, I will actually divine where Tracy went once I'm home because I do not want this chick running around killing people and trying to sacrifice them to some unknown evil god. And he wants her executed on the spot. And when I read that, I was like, Klein, you're really trigger happy. What the fuck? Because execution right on the spot, girl, I know she killed people and did crimes and all that, but there is this thing called life sentence in jail. Klein. Before they all left to do their own thing, Captain Dunes actually asked Klein something. he asked him, what would you have done if you were part of the mission and taking the lead? And Klein's like, you know what? I would actually divine first if the ritual is going to take place soon or not. If it's not taking place soon, I would actually just wait and observe. But if it's taking place soon, I would deploy the police and have 5 cannons bombard the whole building until Tracy has no choice but to flee. And you know what? You know what? Everybody was utterly speechless at what he suggested, because I was also fucking speechless when he said that. I was like, isn't this a neighborhood and you're just gonna have cannons bombarding a building? Like, what? Klein actually asked Captain Dunes, Captain, is that not a good idea? And when I read that, I was imagining him looking out at Captain Dunes with puppy dog eyes, looking like a kicked puppy. And I was like, oh god, Klein, you are something for sure. But also at the same time, he mentions that he likes that idea of bombardment. Like, not Captain Dunes, I mean Klein. He likes that idea. He's a fan of that kind of strategy, I'm guessing. And I have a feeling that he will do that in the future, that he will fulfill his dream and destroy a building, probably with cannons, or just heavy bombardment of attacks, maybe. I don't know. But I have a feeling that it will happen at some point. Just a hunch. Captain Dunes, bless his heart, actually. He answers Klein and says that, no, it's a good idea, but the premise is that there is a lot of forceful destruction going on over here, and that we don't know what would happen if we actually destroyed the altar in such a way. It could lead to more disasters. Also, we as the Nighthawks, we are not used to working with normal people, so this is a unique approach. Anyway, Klein and Leonard walked to the carriage station together. Klein was on his way home, and Leonard actually has to stop by the police station to report and tell them that they need cleanup with that house. And yeah, so Klein goes home. He sees Benson and Melissa chilling in the living room. They are studying and doing their homework. And he's like, this is nice. This is home. Klein actually wanted to go up to his room instantly and divine where the fuck Tracy is, but he stopped because he was so hungry, and then he remembered he told them that he's actually going to be eating at the company because the company was supposed to provide him with a meal, but Captain Dunes forgot. So now he's super hungry with nothing to eat because he told them that he's again eating at the company. So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend I'm not hungry. He was about to go upstairs, but Melissa was like, we left some food for you. It's in the kitchen. And Klein's like, oh, thank you, sis, because she's like, I had a feeling that you would probably come back home a little bit hungry because ain't no way company food is gonna be tasty. And that is how the chapter ends. So what do you guys think of these chapters? Personally, I really like chapter 125 because, I don't know, it's just so funny, Klein thinking up that idea with the cannons. I was like, bro, what the fuck? But yeah, before I go, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps my channel out a lot. My commissions are open, and my Vision link is down in the description below. Check out my webcomic Dreaming of Aurora if you have the time. And finally, thanks to my patrons, Robek, Vanarik, and Jvoltjevalitska for the support. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!